Hey everybody, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Frank.
And we're going to take you behind the headstock again with the Guitar of the Week program. This is our third episode. We're going to walk you through the next 6 guitars in the lineup there, so stick around.
Go Behind the Headstock with Kevin and Frank, 2 ex-Gibson employees talking about guitars and the guitar industry with an inside perspective.
All right, so let's pick up from week 13. You know, in the last few episodes, it's kind of funny. We talked a bunch about the Explorer Pro, right. And here's another Explorer Pro.
Yeah.
But this one has a mahogany top.
Yeah.
But I remember where the inspiration came from with this one.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I do. Years before, probably around 2002, the custom shop had a summer NAMM party, and I was in the sales department then, and we were over there, and in one of their side rooms they had a whole big collection of special NAMM produced guitars for summer NAMM. And one of them, I looked for a picture of it today, but it was literally a one of a kind. I would love to see who has a picture of it. Maybe Bruce Kunkel does. But it was a Les Paul custom with a mahogany top in brown, and someone had burned like a hunting scene into it with like deer and trees and stuff. It was gorgeous.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, I don't like brown guitars, but it was in brown and it was beautiful. So
it was burnt with like a laser burn, or yeah.
It might have been done with a soldering iron. I don't know, but it was just beautiful.
Wow.
Again, for a brown guitar to knock me out, it has to be really, really good looking.
Right.
So
right, yeah.
I just remembered how nice that mahogany top looked with the black pore filler in it. So boom, there it is.
Yeah, there we go.
And it does look nice.
It is a beautiful guitar with the cream binding.
Yep.
It looks great, you know.
Right, it's a little bit of a different
satin.
No,
it looks.
It was at least a gloss top. Let's look at the back.
Okay.
Yeah, it was gloss back. I mean, again, it just gorgeous looking guitar. We do maple all the time on the Explorer Pros. It was just a little bit of a different take on it. That fit. It checked off all the boxes that we could put this together and run with it pretty quick. So.
Yeah, like we've been talking about in all these episodes is that, due to case configurations and tooling and everything we had, production concerns, we had to stick with a lot of familiar models, just change them up a little bit,
Yep. And what's funny is the serial number on that one is the 88th day of 2007. Yeah, falls right in line. That's when the neck was stamped. All right. So week 14.
Ooh, classic antique, is that?
Yeah.
Another episode?
With P90s and gold hardware.
That's pretty sweet looking guitar.
That is pretty sweet looking, right? So I've always been a huge P90 fan. And again, when we're putting all these models together, it's like, there's a lot of versions of guitars we've done forever without a P90 option. So there you go.
Yeah, and a 60s neck. I mean, what else could you get a P90 with a 60s neck? There wasn't much, We had
the classic custom. That was about it, right? And that was with humbuckers until the Guitar of the Week series.
Right.
And another thing is, not everybody likes gold hardware, but I do. I remember seeing, not long before this, a white Strat with gold hardware, and I thought it was just gorgeous.
Yeah. Gold looks great, and on stage it's beautiful. It just doesn't wear well,
That's why
people don't like it,
But the gold with the cream and in iced tea, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's a beauty.
Check this out, Frank. So I found this online.
Okay. Wow.
It's a company called Guitar Chimp. I don't know who they are, but they have this. I think this is still in stock. I got to say, that's the nicest top I've ever seen on that model. So if there's
top.
any viewers out there, you like that, go buy it right now, because that is definitely the nicest top on that guitar I've ever seen.
Wow. Yeah, it's beauty.
Come on, look at that.
Yeah. If you're a P90 fan, that's one you got to have.
Yep. You like flame maple? That's it.
Yeah, beauty.
Hey, Frank, another cool thing about this model, and I went back on the specs and looked at it, was we put in here what we were calling H90 pickups. So, they look like P90s, but we called them H90. Can you take a minute and talk about the H90? And do you remember if we actually did put H90s in here?
No, I don't remember. The H90 came from the Billy Joe Armstrong project from Green Day. We were working with Billy Joe, and he loved the juniors, and he just, the P90 was squealing a lot on stage for him. So he had a lot of trouble with it. Now, we made a P100, which was just a lot of wire. The P100,
it was stacked, right?
Yeah, a stacked humbucker that had 10,000 turns on each coil or something like that. So it was a lot of wire, and it really didn't sound great. The P100 just didn't work, It didn't have that P100 bite.
Yeah, they were okay.
Bite. Yeah, it didn't have that bite. So what I did with the H90 is kind of took a little from the Blues Hawk project. Remember the Blues Hawk used to have a dummy coil in the back to make it kind of hum canceling? Well, that's what I did. I put like a dummy coil on the back of the P90 to make it hum canceling, but not really a humbucker. So it was like the H90, and it was underwound just enough so it didn't affect the tone. And it sounded great. It worked for what Billy Joe wanted without squealing, and it still retained a lot of that P90 sound. It wasn't exactly like it, but it was good. It wasn't the P100. It wasn't muddy. So
now, if you took that pickup out of that guitar, would it look like a P100?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It just wasn't wired the same or wound the same.
It was stacked, but we didn't have the magnets go through the pole pieces, I don't think. So it was like a dummy coil with no magnets going through the center of the coil. So it didn't. It was just. It just ran a loop, basically.
We got to find somebody who has one.
Yeah. I wish I had the wiring schematic for it, because there was a way that we would wire it together to make it sound great. So, like, we split the coil somehow, almost like the coil tap thing that they're doing now.
Right. That we did in our Les Paul studio video, yeah.
Right, that we talked about, and that Gibson's doing now with Jim. But yeah, it was kind of like that, It worked for Billy Joe, and we used it on some pickups on these guitars, and it sounded good. So
yep. It's funny because I remember we were constantly playing around with pickups. That was a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, yeah, they put me in charge of the pickup department, and of course I had to tinker with things and learn. and honestly, I learned by just talking to the people there, that have been working there for so many years, and like, hey, what if we did this? And they would, oh, we did that in '75, and you'd run into some of that, and but you learned from their knowledge, and and experimented with them. I was doing a lot of this stuff, but it wasn't really just me. It was, we all threw the ideas in, and then we'd go out on the floor and see how we could make it work, and then go back and make fixturing to do it, and then teach the people what we wanted them to do. So it was a huge effort to do anything. It was a lot of people involved, and that was the only way it would work, is if you had a lot of people. So
true. But the other thing is, I wonder how many people realize they have H90s, not P90s, because they did sound like P90s. They were just quieter.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it doesn't, I guess in the end it doesn't matter, as long as they're happy with the sound of the guitar.
Or maybe they're not P90s. I don't know. I know we spec'd them for them. I just don't know if they ended up with them. They probably did.
Yeah, I would say they did because,
Yeah.
at that point we were running the Great Plains system, so bill of materials had to be deadly accurate.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
4
Yeah, you
screws
couldn't.
or 3 screws, and, everything was counted right down to the length of wire by the inch,
And the amount of pore filler.
Yeah, we had a certain amount. I remember we used to have little toolboxes that we'd give out with like enough sandpaper to sand your day's production. So you use your paper wisely. You got 18 pieces of 40 grit or whatever, that what the breakdown was. But we had figured out that's what you should be able to do that with. And yeah,
that is frugal.
Get your little tackle box full of sandpaper and
don't overuse it. Yep.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Yep. So.
All right. Well, that's the. Let's move on. So week 15. We did a version of the Les Paul GT, which that's the first guitar I ever got to design for Gibson from the whole thing from top to bottom.
Right.
And so that was in production. What's that?
Except for the Nutric jack. I'm sure that wasn't your idea.
Oh, it was.
Oh, really?
It was, yes.
You like that?
I wanted to try it. So we'll go real in depth in another episode, but I wanted to put every hot rod modification that people do aftermarket, I wanted to put it on the guitar already. So it was basically a touring, tough, coast to coast guitar that will just never fail you, right? So I put all those upgrades on it and then chrome the hell out of it to make it look like a GT muscle car,
Yeah. Strap locks, nice heavy metal knobs.
But after it went through the authorization process, some fingerprints were put on it by other people, and we did ghost flames, and we decided to not do ghost flames on this one.
Right.
Just keep it regular. Here's the original brochure for the GT, which is pretty cool. I found it online. Another interesting thing, look at the SG here. This was so early in the process, we actually changed the hood scoop to metal.
Yeah, right.
But the first version was a plastic hood scoop that we later changed, but that was after this photo was done. But anyway,
Les Paul has the ghost flames, right? I think I can see them, yeah.
Yep, we did ghost flames on the Les Paul, and I did like the racing stripes on the SG.
Yeah, that looks great.
So there's the back of it, and then there's the headstock.
Okay.
Another cool feature I forgot all about, since I chromed this thing out, right? The inlays were chrome on the truss rod cover. We did a silver Les Paul silkscreen, not gold.
Right.
Just fit in there perfect.
Yeah.
Now, what most people don't know is, where did this come from?
Where did what come from?
The color.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So the plant manager was Johnny Alexander, and he had this sweet Chevelle in like this fire engine red color. And as Frank and I were just, banging our heads trying to come up with 48 new models, Johnny threw his hat in the ring with a couple of them. He said, "Hey, man, it might be pretty cool to do a Les Paul GT in the same color as my car." In fact, Frank, did we use some leftover paint from his car?
I don't know. We might have got the paint code from it.
Right.
I had the guys at TCP get the code for it. But yeah, look at the car. Chrome rims and the chrome bumper, all nice.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. You never know where inspiration comes from. Sometimes
it came from everywhere. Yep. Isn't that great?
Sure.
All right, let's go ahead to 16.
Silverburst.
Yeah. So as we talked about in the last episode, it was Chris Roberts who came up with the Silverburst SG model, and that thing sold out in like an hour and a half at NAMM, at the NAMM show. It was such a no-brainer that Frank and I said, you know what? When you got a hit, run with it. So we did more Silverburst in the next couple of years than we had done probably in the 70s when it was a hot color. So
yeah, We changed that one up a little. I remember we put like white inlays. We got these white acrylic inlays and used white binding on it instead of cream. And then, as you can see, we only shaded the front.
And we did a rim burst. We didn't do the teardrop.
Right. The 70s were shaded all over the whole guitar.
Yeah.
You know, when the original Silverburst Customs, which that was kind of homage to, you know, what a great guitar that was, you know.
Well, the funny thing is, and we'll do another episode of it, but at this point in time, Gibson USA was not allowed to make a Les Paul custom.
Right. So we're
this
bending
was our
as much as possible.
This was our other version of the Les Paul custom. We'll spend a whole episode on that one. But go back to our first episode where we talk about the Les Paul copper top. It was the same situation. We got gold tops taken away from us by our friends at the custom shop. The same kind of thing with customs at the time.
They took the Les Paul custom, right? Yeah.
Yep, for years.
That hurt.
Well, it made us come up with some other cool models.
Yeah, there it is. There's one right there.
Beautiful with the reflector knobs. Yep, gorgeous.
Yeah, it worked good. It worked well. Oh, no.
Okay. All right, this is a weird one.
What did he call that? The New Century or something?
Right, so we had a model. Actually, there were a bunch of models. There was a Les Paul Flying V Explorer SG New Century that had full body mirror pick guards that were in the same pattern. Now, if I remember,
that's when we got like Corey and George, the geniuses of the routers. They figured out a way to inlay the pick guard into the body, so it didn't cover it with like flush, and it made it nice. So
now, if I remember correctly, it was Johnny again, or someone talking with Delmar, and they had this material.
Ron Moe was the purchaser.
You think it was Ronnie who pushed it? Okay.
Yeah.
But again, you and I are struggling to come up with 48 guitars. People are like, hey, I got an idea. How about this? We're like, all right.
We went to the purchasing department. I remember talking to the guys and saying, hey, talk to your suppliers. What do they got? You know, we need enough to do 400 guitars. But if they've got something cool and unique, let's get it, you know.
Yeah,
that's enough to do. Because I mean, look at that size of that pick guard. You know, that's like a normal body's about 14 by 18 or 19. So that's what do we get? About maybe 10 out of a 4 by 8 sheet.
A sheet, yeah.
Yeah. So we had to buy 40 sheets of or whatever of plastic, and so
we cut. Maybe people don't know that, but we cut all of our own plastics in house.
Yeah. We had a little whole router stations where we hand routed them for years until the CNCs came around.
Yep. It's not like we were going to all parts and ordering these.
No, everything, and that we controlled our own destiny with that as well. Is we were able to make our own parts, you know.
Yep.
Oh, there's the mirrored one, right?
That's the original.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not the original. That came out. Nope. That came out from a result of guitars that we were doing for artists or companies as one-offs.
Okay.
So here's me and Eric Marlowe and Luis Gonzalez his last year, and he was on the Dodgers. This is at the Astros Stadium.
Wow.
During Summer NAMM when it was in Austin, Texas.
Okay. All right.
So Don Pitts was running the Austin Entertainment Relations office. And before Summer NAMM, I said, hey, Don, there's a home game with the Astros. And Don was deeply embedded with a lot of sports people like Mike Piazza and, who was the Yankee who played guitar? I can't believe his name escapes me, but, they retired his number. Anyway.
Paul
Don
O'Neill?
was... No.
Who was?
Paul O'Neill was a drummer. Anyway, so... Don was doing all these special guitars. So when I said, hey, I'd love to see an Astros game, he said, hey, Luis Gonzalez is going to be playing the Astros during Summer NAMM. Let's make him a special guitar, and I'll get you guys in. We went into the dugouts. We sat behind home plate. But
really?
You can't really see it, but it's a mirror inlay with Dodgers on it.
Oh, okay.
But I think we were doing this first before we turned that into the full mirror. I think it was Chad who came up with the idea of doing a full mirror, and I thought, oh my God, we got to do V's and Explorers, man. That's like a total Paul Stanley looking guitar. You know what I mean? It's something a Kiss should be playing.
Sure.
And then we ended up giving a few to the Eagles of Death Metal. I remember.
What better way to burn out the retinas of your fans?
Yeah, so there's a close-up of the plastic. It was very like retro, like 50s countertop.
It looked like an old kitchen table from the
dinette.
50s.
Yeah.
Look, those were like metal strands, and they were reflective. I remember, like, if you moved it, it would like flip-flop colors. It turned like purple and green and blue, and the strands in the plastic reflected metal, kind of strange. It looked really good.
It was funky.
Yeah, it looked different.
Hey, we took a shot, right? It's not everybody's cup of tea, but
the June Cleaver SG.
Alice's Diner SG.
Yeah, right. Alice's Restaurant. That's
Flow.
Yeah.
Kiss My Grits SG.
That's it.
But hey, we sold them all. All right, let's go to week 18. Whoop, oh, there's another close-up. Yeah. All right, we get it. We get it, Kevin.
There we go with the SG bass again.
Yep.
Little, and there's what we talked about again. We were doing the natural ones that were real beautiful, and then we needed something else to do with those bodies,
Yep.
And there's the upside down burst, or whatever you call that.
I think I called it a reverse burst.
Well, okay. I'd buy that.
Yeah.
That's actually a good representation of it, too. It works better on the SG because the horns kind of look like flames,
Oh, yeah.
With the horns, it kind of has the tips of kind of like flames. That paint job works well on the SG, I thought.
Now, in the last episode, we went pretty deep with the first SG Supreme bass in the Guitar of the Week program. We went into the electronics, the pickups, what Frank did to all them. It's a pretty good story. So if you missed out on that one, go back and listen to that if you're a bass guy. But yeah, that thing's gorgeous.
Yeah, the finishing department hated me because, you see, I painted the rim black. So they had to tape that off. They could do the burst, and then they had to come back and paint that rim black and the back. But I think it looks good like that. It wraps better.
We did other SG Supremes that same way, though. Yeah, I know it was a pain in the neck, but that's kind of how we handled it.
But we had good painters, We always had good painters.
Yep. I mean, that's beautiful. Yeah, I got to say, nobody bursts a guitar like Gibson does. They try, but it ain't the same. Nope. Anyway, all right. So that brings us to the end of the next 6 in the Guitar of the Week program. You guys have been reaching out to us, asking questions, making comments. We love it. So Frank and I have an email address called behindtheheadstock@gmail.com. Please reach out to us, share your thoughts, or if you have any episode suggestions, you want to know about a certain guitar model or how things were made or what it was like working in the plant at the time, please feel free to reach out. We're having a blast doing this. We're going to continue on. So so that's what we have for you tonight. Next episode will be the next 6 in the series. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Go Behind the Headstock with Kevin and Frank, 2 ex-Gibson employees talking about guitars and the guitar industry with an inside perspective.